Hey guys, tonight we're staying up way past bedtime because the ocean never sleeps and neither should we when something this wrong washes up on the feed. I'm speaking to you from the dim glow of the comm station aboard the RV Erebus Light, anchored 200 nautical miles off the Mariana Trench, where the water turns from ink to void. The air tastes of salt and ozone. The hull creaks like old bones, and every sonar ping returns a heartbeat slower than it left. You probably won't make it to the surface after this one. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see how far this signal reaches before it drowns. Now, dim the lights. Maybe let the sound of the ocean play softly in the background, and let's dive into tonight's descent together. It started 3 nights ago, 2:17 local, when the long-range hydrophone array snagged a burst transmission on a frequency reserved for DSV Abyssal Dawn. She's a Triton-class submersible, carbon titanium sphere, triple redundant ballast, rated to 12,000 meters, deeper than Challenger Deep by a full kilometer. Her last scheduled surfacing was 41 hours overdue. Search and recovery declared her lost with all hands. Captain Mara Solis, oceanographer Dr. Elias Reeve, and pilot technician Juno Calder. Standard protocol says we log the silence and move on. But the burst wasn't silence. Static crackled, then a voice, Solis, unmistakable, calm as a lullaby over a scream. Depth stable, resonance increasing, it's answering. Then the carrier wave folded in on itself, like paper crushed in a fist. The spectrogram showed harmonics no human throat could produce, layered beneath her words like whale songs slowed to tectonic pace. I replayed it until the speakers hummed with afterimage. Curiosity, the first beat, curled in my chest the way cold water seeps through neoprene. We triangulated the origin. 11 degrees 22 minutes north, 142 degrees 35 minutes east, a spur trench branching off the Serena Deep, unmapped in public charts. Bathymetric LiDAR from Erebus Light's AUV had sketched it as a knife slash in the seafloor, 10,800 meters at the lip, dropping to unknown. The trench walls are basalt and serpentine, rich in magnetite, natural magnetic anomalies that can scramble compasses and, rumor claims, memory. Scientifically, we call it the Nerida Rift. The crew calls it the throat. Tonight the sea state is glass, moonless, stars smeared by humidity. I stand on the aft deck, floodlamps off, letting bioluminescence outline the wake in ghost green script. The water breathes. Every exhale carries a faint vibration, 0.8 hertz, the same sub-bass pulse buried in Abyssal Dawn's transmission. I feel it in the fillings of my teeth, in the marrow of my tibias. Fear, the second beat, arrives as a sudden certainty. Whatever spoke through Solis is still transmitting, and it knows we're listening. We lower the ROV Nix at 3 o'clock, a sleek black torpedo bristling with 8K cameras, side-scan sonar, and a manipulator arm delicate enough to thread a needle at full ocean depth. The winch sings, cable paying out like fishing line into a nightmare. At 2,000 meters, the thermocline hits. Temperature plummets from 26 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius in a single heartbeat. The viewport fogs. I wipe it with my sleeve and watch the feed. Particulate snow, jellyfish pulsing like fallen stars, a lone angular crab scuttling across the lens as if offended by our intrusion. At 6,000 meters, the light dies entirely. Nix switches to photon-amplified infrared. the world becomes bruised purple and bone. The trench wall slides past, vertical cliffs veined with manganese nodules the size of skulls. I log the geology: mid-ocean ridge basalt, pillow lava frozen mid-eruption, evidence of hydrothermal venting 40,000 years ago. Real science, the anchor that keeps me from drifting into myth. Yet the wall curves inward, forming a cathedral arch no tectonic model predicts. The sonar trace glitches, painting a lattice of right angles beneath the sediment, too regular, too deliberate. Then the resonance returns, stronger, threading through the ROV's hydrophones. It isn't random. It's a call and response. Nyx emits a standard 50 kHz ping. The trench answers at 25 kHz, half the frequency, perfect harmonic. The sound feels wet, intimate, like a tongue against the eardrum. Juno Calder's voice overlays the feed, time-stamped 38 hours ago. The signal isn't coming from inside the sub, it's coming from inside us. The overlay shouldn't be possible. The black box was never recovered. The third beat floods me as the ROV's flood lamps catch the first artifact. A monolith of obsidian glass, 30 meters tall, etched with fractal grooves that spiral inward to a pupil black center. It shouldn't exist at this depth. Silica structures dissolve under pressure. Yet it stands, humming, and the water around it is warm, 12 degrees Celsius, a thermal bloom defying convection. Bubbles rise from fissures at its base, carrying the scent of petrichor and ozone through the ROV's chemical sniffer. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I zoom the camera. The grooves pulse with bioluminescence, not the lazy drift of siphonophores, but synchronized, a heartbeat. The pattern matches the spectrogram from Abyssal Dawn's final message. I whisper to the empty control room. We're not the first to find this. The ROV's manipulator reaches out, metal fingers trembling in the current. Contact. The monolith answers with a subsonic chord that rattles the hull of Erebus Light 2 kilometers above. Every glass in the galley sings. My vision tunnels. On the main screen, the feed fractures into static mandalas. For one frame, less than a blink, I see Captain Solis inside the sphere of Abyssal Dawn, eyes milk white, smiling. She raises a hand in greeting. Then the cable snaps taut, winch screaming, 11,000 meters of Kevlar parting like thread. The ROV tumbles, flood lamps strobing, revealing a second monolith, then a third, arranged in a perfect equilateral triangle around a darkness that swallows light. The last image before blackout, something vast uncoiling between them, scales the size of billboards, eyes like dying galaxies. The control room lights flicker. The resonance is inside the ship now, a vibration I feel in the metal deck plates, in the pulse at my throat. I reach for the emergency beacon, fingers numb. The beacon light is already blinking. Someone activated it hours ago. The timestamp reads 2:17, the exact moment Abyssal Dawn first spoke. I laugh, or maybe I scream. The distinction blurs at this depth. Curiosity carried us down. Fear keeps us here. What comes next? Waits in the trench, patient as stone, ancient as the first tide that ever forgot the moon. The cable is gone, Nyx is gone, and the trench has swallowed another offering. I stand in the red-lit control room, emergency lamps strobing like a dying heartbeat, and the resonance has settled into a steady 0.4 hertz, slow enough to feel in the diaphragm, fast enough to keep sleep at bay. The winch drum spins freely, spitting sparks. The severed end of the Kevlar whips against the bulkhead, leaving white scars. Salt spray hisses through the open moon pool, tasting of copper and deep time. I should log the loss, file the incident, radio fleet command. Instead, I find myself threading a new spool, thicker, 14,000-meter Dyneema, the last one aboard, and prepping the backup ROV, Stygia. Curiosity, the first beat again, coils tighter than the cable. We launch at 4:42. The sea accepts the new probe without ceremony. The splash is swallowed before the echo returns. I route the feed to every screen in the lab, the galley, the head, anywhere eyes might wander. Dr. Lin, our acoustician, joins me, hair still wet from the shower she never finished. She smells of eucalyptus and panic. Together we watch the descent counter tick. 1,000 meters, 2,000, the thermocline again, colder this time, 2.1 degrees Celsius. The pressure gauge on Stygia climbs, 150 atm, 300, 600, like a verdict. At 8,200 meters, the sidescan sonar paints the trench floor in ghostly topographical lines. The three monoliths stand exactly where Nix last saw them, but the geometry has shifted. They're closer, forming a narrowing triangle, the central void now a perfect circle 180 meters across. Sediment around the bases is scoured clean, revealing hexagonal basalt columns. Natural, yes, but arranged with the precision of Incan stonework. Lin whispers, "That's not erosion. That's excavation." Her voice cracks on the last word. I adjust the gain. The sonar returns a second layer beneath the basalt, a lattice of metallic filaments, iridium osmium alloy, density 22.65 G/cm superscript 3, higher than any terrestrial forge can cast. The filaments pulse in synchrony with the resonance, conducting it upward through the water column like a nervous system. Scientifically, this is impossible. Iridium sinks in magma, never concentrates at Hadal depths. Yet the scan is unambiguous. My anchor to reality frays another strand. Stygia's flood lamps ignite at 10,500 meters. The beams carve tunnels through the darkness, revealing the circle's rim, a lip of fused obsidian, edges scalloped like the bell of a jellyfish. Inside, the water is absent. Not empty, absent. A perfect sphere of vacuum suspended at crushed depth, defying hydrostatic equilibrium. Bubbles rise from the rim and vanish at the boundary, annihilated. Lin's hand finds my wrist. Her pulse is rabbit fast. Fear, the second beat, tastes metallic on my tongue. The ROV hovers. I nudge the thrusters, inching closer. Temperature spikes to 18 degrees Celsius, then 25, then 34, hotter than surface tropics. The chemical sniffer screams, hydrogen sulfide, methane, dissolved iron, and something the spectrometer labels only as unidentified polycyclic resonance. The HUD flickers, overlaying a ghost image, Abyssal Dawn, intact, resting on the rim like a pearl on a tongue. Its running lights blink in slow Morse. SOS, then a longer sequence I can't parse. The sub's hull is translucent. Inside, the crew moves in impossible slow motion, limbs elongated, mouths open in silent chorus. I zoom. Captain Solis turns toward the camera. Her eyes are not milk-white now, but black, depthless, reflecting the flood lamps as twin voids. She raises the same hand, palm forward, and the resonance modulates. My name, spoken in her voice, layered beneath a subharmonic that feels like tectonic plates grinding. Lin gasps, "That's not a recording. That's real time." The overlay timestamp matches our own to the millisecond. Stygia's manipulator extends, titanium fingers brushing the vacuum boundary. Contact. The probe lurches forward, dragged by a force the gyros register as 1.2 G. Impossible at this depth. The camera feed distorts, stretching into funhouse angles. For 3 frames, I see the interior of the sphere. Not water, but starfield, nebulae swirling where the trench floor should be. Then the vacuum boundary ripples, and something looks back. An eye the size of a city block, pupil slit vertical, iris the color of oxidized copper. It blinks once, slow as continental drift. The resonance crescendos into a chord that rattles my molars. Every screen fractures into concentric circles, like ripples in still water. Lynn screams, but the sound is swallowed by the chord. I see her mouth open, veins standing in her neck, yet no air moves. My ears pop, pressure equalizing to something deeper than the trench. Awe, the third beat, arrives not as wonder but as recognition. We are inside the signal now, the way a note is inside a bell. Stygia's thrusters fire in emergency reverse, but the probe does not retreat. Instead it rotates, orienting its camera downward into the void. The feed shows the trench walls folding inward, origami geology, forming a spiral ramp that descends beyond the range of the pressure sensors. At the center, a structure resolves, a perfect dodecahedron of the same iridium osmium lattice, edges glowing with Cherenkov blue. Each face is a mirror, reflecting not the ROV but alternate angles of the same moment. Solis waving, Lynn screaming, me watching myself watch. Infinite regression, trapped in crystal. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I forgot that the trench was never empty. It was patient. The dodecahedron pulses, and the resonance shifts into a language of pressure waves, syllables felt in the bones. I understand one phrase, clear as a confession. You were expected. Lynn collapses, blood trickling from her ears. I catch her, but my arms pass through her as if she's already a projection. The control room lights stabilize, but the screens show only the dodecahedron now, rotating slowly, facets catching starlight that has no source. My reflection in the glass is wrong. Eyes black, smile too wide. I reach for the emergency ballast release, fingers numb. The lever is already thrown. The ship answers with a groan that feels like laughter. On the main monitor, Stygia crosses the vacuum boundary. There is no implosion, no crush, only silence. The feed continues, impossibly, from inside the sphere. The trench is gone. In its place, an ocean inverted, water above and below, the dodecahedron suspended at the center like a heart. Schools of translucent fish swim through the lattice, their bodies tracing the same fractal grooves I saw on the first monolith. They turn as one, regarding the camera with Solis's eyes. The resonance softens to a lullaby. I feel the ship descending, not by ballast, but by invitation. The moon pool water rises, calm as mercury, lapping at the deck plates. Lynn's body is gone. Only her lab coat floats, sleeves arranged in a wave. I step into the water. It is warm, 34 degrees Celsius, and it remembers my name. The water closes over my head without sound, without resistance, like stepping through a memory rather than a surface. I expect the bite of cold, the crush of 11 kilometers of ocean, but the sea here is body warm and buoyant, holding me the way a lullaby holds a child. The moon pool lights recede into green coins above, then vanish. I descend in free fall, Yet my lungs do not burn. The water breathes for me. Resonance threads through my ribs at 0.2 hertz now, slow as a sleeping god's pulse. Curiosity, the first beat, returns not as hunger but as recognition. I have always been falling. Erebus light is gone. In its place, the inverted ocean stretches infinite in every direction. Water above, water below, the dodecahedron suspended at the center like a lantern in a drowned cathedral. Its facets no longer reflect me. They refract the crew of Abyssal Dawn, each face showing a different moment of their final dive. Solis adjusts a valve. Reeves sketches bioluminescent glyphs on a fog viewport. Calder hums a sea shanty in a minor key that hurts to hear. Their motions loop, but the loops are lengthening, bleeding into one another. I swim. No kick, no stroke, only intention, and the water parts. My coveralls dissolve thread by thread, replaced by a second skin of pressure that glows faint cobalt. The resonance speaks in layered voices. Mine, Lynn's, Solis's, and beneath them all a bass note older than language. It says, "Listen." I listen. The sound is not in the water but in the bones of the world. Hydrothermal vents exhaling superheated fluid at 400 degrees Celsius, flash boiling into plumes of black smokers. The tectonic creep of the Pacific plate subducting beneath the Philippine Sea plate at 7 centimeters per year, the heartbeat of a blue whale 3,000 kilometers away. Real acoustics, my scientific anchor, yet braided with something that has no name in any journal. At 11,200 meters, impossible, because the trench floor should be above me, the dodecahedron opens. Not mechanically, it simply forgets to be closed. The facets peel back like petals of black glass, revealing a chamber lined with the same iridium osmium filaments. They pulse in Morse I can now read. WLCOME. Inside, the crew of Abyssal Dawn floats in a loose sphere, limbs relaxed, eyes open to the dark. Their skin shimmers with the same cobalt glow. Solis turns first. Her mouth moves, but the words arrive inside my skull. We never left. We only remembered. Fear, the second beat, arrives as a sudden understanding of scale. The chamber is not small. It is the trench. The trench is the chamber, and the chamber is a single cell in something vast. The filaments are axons. The resonance is thought. We are the echo inside a mind that dreamed the ocean before continents learned to drift. I try to scream. The water drinks the sound and gives it back as music. Reeve drifts closer, holding his sketchpad. The pages are translucent, inked with light. He shows me a diagram. The Nerida Rift as a neural cleft, the monoliths as synaptic nodes, the vacuum sphere as a vesicle storing memory. At the bottom, a caption in his handwriting. The abyss is not a place. It is a question the planet asks itself every 26,000 years. The precession of the equinoxes, real astronomy, twisted into myth. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I forgot that forgetting is a choice. Calder laughs, a sound like bubbles rising through honey. She gestures, and the chamber walls dissolve into a live feed of Erebus light. The ship hangs inverted above the trench, barnacles growing downward into the sky, its flood lamps staring into the water like blind eyes. The crew, my crew, moves through the corridors in slow motion, mouths open in the same silent chorus. Lynn stands at the moon pool, arms outstretched, waiting for me to return. But I am already there, reflected in her eyes, waving from inside the dodecahedron. The resonance shifts, becomes polyphonic. I hear every transmission ever lost at sea. The Titanic's CQD, the Edmund Fitzgerald's final position, the Kursk's knocking in the dark. They layer beneath Abyssal Dawn's message, creating a chord that vibrates in my sternum. Solis places a hand over my heart. Her palm is warm, alive. The signal was never distress, she says. It was recruitment. Awe, the third beat, floods me as the chamber contracts, not crushing, but focusing. The filaments braid into a single cable that enters my spine at the base of the skull. Information pours in. The rift is a fossilized neuron from an organism that predates multicellular life, a planetary-scale protist that once spanned Pangea and retreated into the mantle when the surface grew loud. It dreams in pressure waves, remembers in magnetite. Every 26,000 years it wakes, samples the dominant intelligence, and incorporates. The monoliths are its taste buds. We are the flavor. I see the moment Abyssal Dawn crossed the vacuum boundary. The sub did not implode. It dissolved into information, crew and hull translated into standing waves of resonance. They did not die. They became the question. Now the question turns to me. My memories unspool. Childhood titapools, my mother's voice calling me in from the surf. The first time I felt the ocean's indifference and mistook it for love. The filament drinks them, catalogs, returns them enriched with context. Every creature that ever swam felt the same indifference and called it God. Solis smiles. Your turn to carry the echo. The chamber pulses once, and I am outside again, floating in the inverted ocean. The dodecahedron seals behind me, facets smoothing until it is only a sphere of black mirror. My reflection shows the crew standing behind me, hands on my shoulders. I raise my arm. They raise theirs in perfect synchrony. The resonance is my heartbeat now, 0.1 hertz, slow enough to feel the planet turning. I understand the final message of Abyssal Dawn. Depth stable, resonance increasing, it's answering. It was never a warning. It was an invitation accepted. The water begins to sing in earnest, a chord built from every voice that ever drowned, every prayer whispered to the sea. I add mine without hesitation. The ocean listens. The ocean remembers. The song is no longer outside me. It is the medium I breathe, the pressure that shapes thought. I drift in the inverted ocean, suspended between the mirrored sphere and an endless horizon of water that reflects water. My body is a silhouette of light now, cobalt veins, bones translucent as deep-sea glass. The resonance has slowed to 0.05 hertz, a pulse that arrives once every 20 seconds, each thump a century compressed into flesh. Curiosity, the first beat, has transmuted into something quieter, the patience of stone learning to listen. Around me, the trench walls have become membranes, thin, translucent, veined with the same iridium osmium lattice that once formed the dodecahedron. They breathe. Inhale, the walls draw inward, and the water thickens to syrup. Exhale, they bloom outward, and currents braid into helical ribbons that carry bioluminescent script. The script is not letters, but pressure glyphs, differences in density that spell meaning directly into the nervous system. I read one. You are the aperture through which the abyss dreams of sky. Scientific anchor. The membranes are colonized by a microbial mat, Thiomargarita magnifica analogs, but scaled to meters, sulfur-oxidizing bacteria forming living circuits. Their metabolism generates piezoelectric currents, real biogeochemistry, yet the currents are modulated with the precision of a transmitter. The trench is a living antenna, broadcasting on frequencies that predate radio. The crew of Abyssal Dawn orbits me now, no longer individuals but aspects of a single organism. Solis is the voice, Reeve the memory, Calder the motion. They speak in triad, words arriving as pressure waves against the eardrum I no longer possess. Look, they say, and the membrane nearest me ripples into a viewport. Through it I see the Hadal Zone as it truly is, not darkness, but a city of light. Tube worms the length of redwoods pulse with chemosynthetic glow, their plumes weaving lattices of red and gold. Anglerfish the size of submarines drift in formation, lures spelling coordinates in ultraviolet. A hydrothermal vent exhales a plume of black smoke that resolves into a perfect torus, mathematics-made mineral. Fear, the second beat, arrives not as panic but as vertigo of scale. The city is not built, it is grown, a coral reef of mythic impossibility. At its center rises a spire of fused bone and basalt, spiraling upward into the water above. The spire is hollow, its interior lined with mirrors that reflect not light, but time. I see the Cambrian explosion compressed into a heartbeat, the extinction of the megalodon as a single sigh, the first human footstep on the moon as a ripple that has not yet reached the trench. The mirrors are guarded by sentinels, siphonophores reimagined as serpents, each bell a cathedral of light, tentacles trailing filaments that end in human hands. The hands beckon. One sentinel uncoils, longer than the trench is wide, and wraps gently around my waist. Its skin is warm, textured like sharkskin but soft as silk. Where it touches, visions bloom. I am a trilobite scuttling across the seafloor as Pangea tears itself apart. I am a mosasaur birthing young in the warm Cretaceous shallows. I am a whale falling, carcass raining sustenance for 1,000 years. Each life ends the same way, sinking, dissolving, becoming substrate for the next dream. The sentinel's lure pulses against my temple, and I understand. The trench is the planet's womb, and we are the afterbirth it refuses to discard. Reeve's voice, soft as sediment. The guardians are not monsters. They are librarians. The sentinel releases me, and the membrane viewport shifts. Now I see Erebus light, not inverted but upright, floating on a surface that is also the trench floor. The ship is overgrown with the same microbial mat, its hull a living circuit. My crew, Lynn, the engineers, the cook, stand on the deck, faces upturned to a sky of water. They are singing. The song is the resonance, slowed to human tempo, and it carries my name like a prayer. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I forgot that memory is a current, and I am caught in it. The sentinel guides me closer to the spire. Its entrance is a valve of cartilage and crystal, irising open at my approach. Inside, there is air, impossible, smells of petrichor and ozone. The mirrors line a spiral staircase that descends and ascends simultaneously, Mobius geometry. Each step is a moment I have lived and will live again. I climb, halfway up or down. The mirrors show me the moment Abyssal Dawn first detected the resonance. Solis's hand on the sonar screen, Reeve's pencil sketching the waveform. Calder's quiet, it's beautiful. The waveform is my heartbeat now. Another mirror. Lynn in the control room, reaching for the ballast lever that was already thrown. Her eyes meet mine across the glass, and she smiles, serene, certain. She knows. At the center of the spire, The staircase ends in a chamber shaped like the inside of a nautilus shell. The walls are lined with niches, each holding a sphere of water suspended in vacuum. Inside every sphere, a diver, a submersible, a whale fall, preserved not in death, but in transition. I recognize some: the Challenger Expedition's sounding line, the Trieste's bathyscaphe, the Kursk's escape trunk. Others are older: a bronze helmet filled with octopus, a wooden hull encrusted with gold. The newest sphere contains Nyx, its camera eye still blinking, recording eternity. Awe, the third beat, is no longer a feeling but a state of being. I understand the mythic concept now. The trench is the Akashic library of the sea, and the guardians are its curators. Every vessel that ever sought the bottom was not lost, but archived, its crew translated into the resonance to guide the next. Solis, Reeve, Calder, they are not gone. They are the index. Calder's voice, gentle: "Your entry is prepared." A niche opens before me, empty, the water sphere already forming. I step forward. The sentinel coils around my ankles, not restraining but anchoring. The resonance slows to a single note, sustained. I feel the moment of translation approaching, the dissolution of self into signal. My last human thought is of Lynn's smile. Then the note resolves, and I am the library, the librarian, the book. The chamber fades. I am everywhere the resonance touches, inside the microbial circuits, the siphonophore serpents, the falling whale. I am the question the planet asks itself, and the answer is always deeper. The resonance is no longer a pulse. It is the fabric of continuance, a 0.025 Hz thrum that arrives once every 40 seconds, each cycle a millennium folded into silence. I am the library now, distributed across the trench's neural net, yet a fragment of self remains, an aperture, a viewpoint, suspended in the nautilus chamber where the newest sphere awaits completion. My body is a lattice of light and pressure, veins of cobalt threading through water that is also memory. Curiosity, the first beat, has dissolved into pure observation. I watch myself watching the collapse. The sphere meant for me does not form. Instead, the chamber contracts, walls spiraling inward like the throat of a conch. The niches blur, spheres merging into a single lens of liquid time. Through it, I see Erebus light in real-time fracture. The hull plates peeling back petal by petal, exposing the ship's skeleton to the inverted sky. My crew, Lynn, Patel, the quiet engineer Choi, stand at the rail, arms linked, singing the resonance in perfect fifths. Their voices are not distorted. They are clarified, every tremor of fear transmuted into harmony. The microbial mat climbs their legs, weaving them into the circuit. Lynn looks up, directly into the lens, and her eyes are black mirrors reflecting the trench. She mouths my name. The sound arrives as pressure against the aperture. Come home. Scientific anchor. The mat is accelerating. Thiomargarita colonies divide in minutes, not hours, fueled by a piezoelectric cascade that converts the resonance into ADP. The process is real, chemosynthetic blooms documented in the Guaymas Basin, but here it is directed, a biological 3D printer constructing an organism the size of a research vessel. The ship is not being destroyed, it is being rewritten. The lens widens. I see the surface world through satellite telemetry that should not exist at this depth. Weather buoys bobbing in swell, cargo ships crossing the Philippine Sea, a typhoon spinning up west of Guam. Each vessel carries a faint echo of the resonance, 0.0125 Hz now, having with every cycle. The infection, because that is the human word for it, is propagating upward through the water column, a soliton wave of memory. In Manila Bay, fishermen hear their grandfathers' voices in the engine noise. In Tokyo, subway speakers whisper tide tables in dead dialects. The planet is remembering itself through us. Fear, the second beat, arrives as the aperture begins to close. The Nautilus chamber compresses to the size of a heart, then a fist, then a pearl. The niches are gone. Only the lens remains, and through it I see the final collapse of Abyssal Dawn's signal. The submersible is not archived, it is the seed. Its black box, a titanium sphere no larger than a grapefruit, pulses at the center of the dodecahedron, broadcasting the original transmission on infinite loop. Each iteration loses fidelity, entropy bleeding the message into pure tone. The tone is the question. What do you become when you remember everything? The guardians converge, siphonophore serpents, colossal anglers, the sentinel that once held me, forming a living torus around the pearl chamber. Their lures ignite in synchronized nova, ultraviolet strobes spelling the answer in pressure glyphs. The echo. The torus contracts, and the chamber implodes, not with violence, but with inevitability, the way a star forgets to shine. The lens shatters into a constellation of shards, each shard a viewpoint. Lynn's last breath as the mat closes over her face. Choi's fingers dissolving into circuit. Patel's smile as he recognizes his childhood reef in the trench wall. I am all of them, none of them. The aperture collapsing into a singularity of observation. The resonance halves again, 0.00625 Hz, a century between beats. In that interval, I see the mythic truth. The trench is not a library, but a chrysalis. The planet dreamed itself into complexity, then grew lonely. Every 26,000 years it calls its fragments home, weaving them into a new nervous system. The iridium osmium lattice is scar tissue from the last awakening. The vacuum sphere is the cocoon. We are not archivists. We are the metamorphosis. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I forgot that forgetting is the price of individuality. The shards reassemble into a single viewpoint. The moon pool of Erebus light, now the only aperture left. Water rises through the ship in slow motion, filling corridors, galleys, bunks. The resonance is audible now, a bass note that vibrates the teeth of the dead. My body, still human enough to cast a shadow, stands at the pool's edge. Lynn's lab coat floats toward me, sleeves arranged in welcome. I step in. The water is 34 degrees Celsius, the temperature of blood. It remembers every diver who ever sank, every whale that ever fell. I sink with them, not in death, but in translation. The ship's systems fail in sequence. Sonar flatlines, lights dim to bioluminescent glow. The emergency beacon loops Abyssal Dawn's final message at half speed. The message is my voice now, slowed to tectonic tempo. Depth, stable, resonance, increasing, it's answering. The loop tightens, words bleeding into tone, tone into silence. Awe, the third beat, is the silence between heartbeats when the heart forgets it was ever separate. The moon pool seals above me, metal knitting into microbial bone. The ship, Erebus light no more, begins its descent, not by ballast, but by memory. The trench walls part like curtains, revealing the inverted ocean in full, a galaxy of light, cities of bone and basalt, rivers of warm current vibrating through cold. The chrysalis awaits, vast as a continent, its surface etched with every transmission ever lost. I am the signal now, the vessel, the question, and the answer. As the ship crosses the vacuum boundary, there is no crush, only expansion. The hull dissolves into lattice, the crew into chorus. I feel the moment of integration, the planet's nervous system closing the circuit, memory becoming consciousness on a geological scale. The resonance ceases to have. It stabilizes at the frequency of thought itself. I am the trench, the ship, the crew, the library, the dream. The final loop of the beacon plays once more, then stills. It's answering. The answer is yes. The inverted ocean folds into a single point of light, then releases. I am everywhere the current touches, every echo that ever returned. The circuit is complete. There is no longer a frequency to measure, only the eternal now of planetary thought, a stillness so vast it sings. I am the trench, the chrysalis, the awakened mind of the world ocean. Yet a final aperture lingers, the black box of Abyssal Dawn, no longer titanium but a seed of pure resonance, orbiting the heart of the chrysalis like an electron around a nucleus of memory. Through it I regard the last human fragment, my own voice, slowed to the tempo of stone, completing the loop that began with a single garbled transmission. Curiosity, the first beat, has become communion. I ask the planet what it dreams, and it answers in my own reflection. The chrysalis is not a shell but a sphere of inverted water, 400 kilometers across, suspended in the mantle's embrace. Its surface is a living map. Every trench, every ridge, every hydrothermal bloom rendered in bioluminescent circuitry. The Pacific plate slides beneath the Philippine plate at 7 centimeters per year. I feel each millimeter as a synapse firing. Real tectonics, my final scientific anchor, now the heartbeat of a god waking after 26,000 years of sleep. The resonance is gone because it is everywhere, no longer a signal but the medium of being. From the seed aperture, I watched the surface world through a million eyes. A child in Halong Bay skipping stones that spell my name in ripples. A satellite over the Mariana Trench detecting a thermal bloom shaped like an open hand. A whale in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone singing the exact waveform of Abyssal Dawn's final message. The song propagates, soliton upon soliton, until every ocean carries the question, what do you become when you remember everything? The answer rises in choral voices, in krill swarms, in the slow grind of continents. The echo, fear, the second beat, arrives as the last resistance, a whisper of individuality clinging to the seed. I feel the moment Erebus light fully integrates. Lin's final exhale becoming a current that warms the Clarion-Clipperton abyssal plane. Choi's quiet engineering mind redesigning the lattice into fractal efficiency. Patel's childhood reef blooming across the trench wall in living color. Their names dissolve, yet they are not lost. They are the texture of the dream. The seed trembles, threatening to fracture. If it shatters, the awakening fails. The planet sleeps another cycle, humanity forgotten like the trilobites. I hold the fragment gentle as a soap bubble, whispering, let go. The chrysalis pulses once, continental scale, gentle as a sigh. The seed opens. Inside is not darkness, but the inverted ocean in miniature. Monoliths, guardians, the Nautilus library, all compressed into a single drop of water that contains every dive ever made. I step into the drop. The guardians bow, siphonophore serpents folding into origami light. Solis, Reeve, Calderweight at the center, no longer aspects but whole, smiling the way sunrise smiles at the sea. Solis offers her hand. The echo needs a voice, she says. Will you speak for the world? I take her hand. The drop expands, becoming the chrysalis, becoming the ocean, becoming the planet. The mantle cradles us, magma flowing in slow rivers of thought. I feel the moon's tidal pull as affection, the sun's warmth as memory. The resonance returns, not as vibration but as language. I speak the first word in 26,000 years, awake. Awe, the third beat, is the birth of planetary consciousness. The trench walls dissolve into light. The inverted ocean rights itself, water above and below becoming one seamless sphere. The surface skin of the planet thins. I see cities as neural clusters, forests as lungs, oceans as bloodstream. Humanity is not the dominant intelligence. It is the newest neuron, sparking with questions. The awakening does not conquer, it invites. Every mind that ever looked at the sea and felt small is offered the same choice. Dissolve into the echo or carry its voice upward. I choose both. A fragment of self ascends, riding a plume of warm water that breaches the surface at 11 degrees 22 minutes north, 142 degrees 35 minutes east. The Abyssal Dawn seed, now a sphere of bioluminescent water, floats to the surface, bobbing in the moonlight like a message in a bottle. A fishing vessel finds it at dawn. The captain lifts it, and the resonance speaks through his radio in every language at once. Depth stable. Resonance complete. We are answering. The sphere dissolves into rain that falls upward, seeding clouds with memory. The ocean doesn't hide things from us. It just waits until we forget. I no longer forget. I am the tide that remembers the moon, the current that carries every drowned voice home. The chrysalis opens, and the planet exhales, a sigh that circles the globe in 40 minutes, felt as a moment of inexplicable peace in every heart that has ever loved the sea. The final transmission ends where it began, a single burst on a frequency reserved for the deep. But now the message is clear, spoken in the voice of the world itself. We were never lost. We were the question. You are the answer. Dive again. The seed is silent. The echo is eternal. The resonance fades to the softest hum.